Welcome to the Razors Inc. podcast with your host, Jonathan Farini. Today, we're going back to school with an exercise in writing, casting, and if you have any kind of entertainment industry aspirations, an exercise in fearlessness. So pour yourself a drink, pull up a chair, and hear Jonathan's take on movies, television, and today, we'll walk you through an exercise in dreaming big. Here's your host, Jonathan Farini.
Ladies, today this podcast is especially for you. Men, stick around because you're going to get something out of it as well. When I complete my podcasts, I'm often left with the feeling like, your podcasts are really skewing toward films written for men and male actors. But I want you to know, ladies, I try my damnedest to weave my themes in so they relate to you. But I wanted to record a podcast today about actresses. Now listen, I've been watching films since the early 1960s, which means that I was watching films from the 50s, the 40s, and the 30s. So yes, I can talk about all the great actresses from A to Z since the 1930s. But in 20 plus or minus minutes of this podcast, I can't do it. And it's more aptly covered in books and documentaries. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a practicum for us to study the subject of actresses. And men, that's why I think you should stick around, because I think you're going to get something out of this as well. All right, let's begin the practicum. I want you to presume you are a debut director. Yes, you got your big shot. This is it. Now, you can be in any time period that you want. You can be a contemporary debut director. You can be a debut director of decades past. It really doesn't matter. But I want you to do the following right now. Think of 3 actresses and write them down. Don't think about it. Just the first 3 actresses that come to your mind. Write them down. Now, without thinking about it, I want you to name 1 or 2 films associated with each of those 3 actresses which led you to your choice. Now, I want you to start thinking about a story that you would want to cast those actresses in. Why did I pick 3? It was a number assuming that you might not get your first choice. Or you might have a story that requires 3 actresses or 2 actresses. But at the very least, pick 3 in case you can't get your first choice or your second choice. I chose to be contemporary. Number 1, Sissy Spacek. Number 2, Hilary Swank. And number 3, Frances McDormand. Now let me tell you which films I selected for each and why. I selected Sissy Spacek because in 1973 I was introduced to her in her debut breakout film called Badlands.
Of course I had to keep all this a secret from my dad. He would have had a fit since Kit was 10 years older than me and came from the wrong side of the tracks, so-called. Then, sure enough, Dad found out I'd been running around behind his back. He was madder than I'd ever seen him. He made me take extra music lessons every day after school and wait there till he came to pick me up. He said that if the piano didn't keep me off the streets, maybe the clarinet would.
She's a girl with Texas roots. Went to Lee Strasberg's acting course. And this was Terrence Malick's debut film. And this is one of those films that the director put his own money into it. They got investment fund money from doctors and dentists. So it was a shoestring budget, but a movie with a big heart. I want you to understand, from my perspective, the landscape of the Dakotas of Montana is a protagonist in this film. And the reason I selected Sissy Spacek for my list and this particular film, Badlands, is because of her natural beauty. It melds together. And she exuded an innocence in that film. Let's face it, she's out in the middle of nowhere. She had lost her mother to pneumonia. She's got a great character actor named Warren Oates, a favorite of Sam Peckinpah, incidentally, as a father who's probably not relating to her. And when he finds out she's dating this kid named Kit, played by Martin Sheen, he shoots her dog. And that sets into motion this Oedipal theme where she stands by while Kit kills her father. And then they go on the run from the authorities. And she does this beautiful narration of what she sees and how she feels throughout the film.
We hid out in the wilderness, down by a river in a grove of cottonwoods. It being the flood season, we built our house in the trees. We planned a huge network of tunnels under the forest floor, and our first order of business every morning was to decide on a new password.
That has left me with a lasting impression. She was probably 24, 25 years old, and she was playing a 15-year-old girl. Yes, I am aware of Carrie. She was nominated for a Best Actress award, Oscar. And yes, I am aware of Coal Miner's Daughter. She won an Oscar for Best Actress. But this exercise is about which actress did I select and which film associated with the actress did I select. Incidentally, I believe her brother passed from leukemia in real life. And I'm certain that that was Sissy's motivation for playing this bereaved 15-year-old girl who lost her mother, and she's alone on this ranch or farm with a father who just probably can't relate to her. So when Kit comes into the scene, I think we can all understand why she would want to go along with this guy, particularly at age 15. You don't have all your wits about you, and you're more apt to make careless choices. So that's my first actress, Sissy Spacek. My second actress is Hilary Swank. She was born to act, tough upbringing. Her mother supported her desire to be an actress. It's reported they moved to L.A. She attended South Pasadena High School, didn't graduate. But her breakout film was Boys Don't Cry.
I can't sing to save my life. What? Sure you can. You sing great.
That wasn't me. It's karaoke.
So, you're still great. Thanks for giving your address to the cops.
It's based upon a real-life story. It was 1999 this film came out. And, look at the challenge. She's an attractive woman, and she prepared for this transition into dressing and acting like a boy by reportedly living as a boy. I think she reduced her body fat down to 7%. It's reported she only made $75 a day or $3,000 for that performance. Incidentally, the budget, if the numbers are correct, was only $2 million. Think of that. Think of the return on investment. In addition to this epic story. She was an attractive woman before transitioning, and in my opinion, she was a beautiful boy. Passable, I don't know, but it wasn't important to me. What was important to me was the grit and the determination and the emotional ups and downs of going through that transition. And of course, the brutality, the hatred, and the violence that went along with that. Deservedly, she won the Oscar for Best Actress. The second movie in 2004 was $1 Million Baby.
So it's your birthday, huh? How old does that make you?
I'm 32, Mr. Dunn. And I'm here celebrating the fact that I spent another year scraping dishes and waitressing, which is what I've been doing since 13. And according to you, I'll be 37 before I can even throw a decent punch. Which, after working this feedback for a month, getting nowhere, I now realize may be God's simple truth. Other truth is, my brother's in prison. My sister cheats on welfare by pretending one of her babies is still alive. My dad is dead, and my mama weighs 312 pounds. If I was thinking straight, I'd go back home, find a used trailer, buy a deep fryer and some Oreos. The problem is, this is the only thing I ever felt good doing. If I'm too old for this, then I got nothing. That enough truth to suit you?
Our national treasure, Clint Eastwood, handpicked her for that. You know the story. She plays this gritty, determined young lady that wants to win a boxing championship. And we watch their relationship, Clint Eastwood becoming a gritty trainer, then a mentor. And then by the time she lands in the hospital, we've seen Clint Eastwood become a loving grandfather, a father. And I'm going to tell you that watching Clint Eastwood act and direct in those hospital scenes, there is palpable, real love, like a grandfather or a father, between director Clint Eastwood and Hilary Swank. It's absolutely beautiful. And she won the Oscar for Best Actress. To watch her go from training like a champ to being bedridden and begging to be put out of her misery, that performance, coupled with the pathos in Boys Don't Cry, I don't believe I have to say anything more to you why I picked Hilary Swank. My third actress is Frances McDormand for 3 Billboards.
I had more than a dozen people come up to me on Sunday. So yes, I took a poll. Everybody is with you about Angela. Nobody is with you about this.
You know what I was thinking about today? I was thinking about those street gangs they have down in Los Angeles, those Crips and those Bloods. And I was thinking about that bunch of new laws they came up with in the 1980s, I think it was, to combat those street gangs, those Crips and those Bloods. And if I remember rightly, the gist of what those new laws were saying was, if you join one of these gangs and you're running with them, and down the block one night, unbeknownst to you, one of your fellow Crips or your fellow Bloods shoot up a place or stab a guy, well then, even though you may not know nothing about it, and even though you may have just been standing on a street corner minding your own business, what these new laws said was, you're still culpable. You're still culpable by the very act of having joined those Crips and those Bloods in the first place. Which got me thinking, Father, that whole type of situation is kind of like you church boys, ain't it? You got your colors, you got your clubhouse, you're, for want of a better word, a gang. And if you're upstairs smoking a pipe and reading your Bible, while one of your fellow gang members is downstairs f***ing an altar boy, well, Father, just like those Crips and just like those Bloods, you're culpable. 'Cause you joined the gang, man.
Won the Oscar for Best Actress. Married to Joel Coen, whose debut film was Blood Simple. I raise that for the following reason. Blood Simple got made because Joel Coen put together a trailer for investors and raised money, nickels and dimes from doctors and lawyers, the same thing as Terrence Malick. It was a $1.5 million budget for Blood Simple. That's just an aside. And perhaps a little motivator for you filmmakers that it can be done. It's difficult. If it was easy, everybody would be doing it. But why did I select 3 Billboards? It's because Frances plays this woman trapped in this backwater town who can only channel her grief by renting out these 3 billboards that frankly nobody's going to see. And that's a way to remember her daughter that was raped and murdered. And everybody in town is against her except, a co-worker. Even her son's relationship with her is fractured because of these billboards. It just brings this attention to her. So she's a grieving mother. She's an employee. She's a friend. And she lives in this backwater town. And more importantly, when she comes nose to nose with the deputy.
Hey, f***head.
What?
Don't say what, Dixon, when she comes in calling you a head, and don't you come in here.
You get over here.
No. You get over here.
All right.
What? Don't, Dixon!
What?
You do not allow a member of the public to call you a head in the station house.
That's what I'm doing. I'm taking care of it in my own way, actually. Now get out of my ass. Mrs. Hayes, have a seat. What is it I can do for you today?
Where's Denise Watson?
Denise Watson's in the clank.
On what charge?
Possession.
Of what?
2 marijuana cigarettes. Big ones.
When's the bail hearing?
I asked the judge not to give her bail.
on account of her previous marijuana violations, and the judge said sure.
You prick.
You're not calling Officer of Law a prick in his own station house, Mrs. Hayes. Or anywhere, actually.
What's with the new attitude, Dixon? Your mama been coaching you?
No. My mama doesn't do that. Take him down. You hear me?
The racist deputy, played by Sam Rockwell, she's able to fend these people off despite her own pain. And remember, she's in this small little town, and I'm really in tune with the frustration she must feel. The town's against her. The only way she can memorialize the death of her daughter is with these 3 billboards, which in my analysis are tombstones. And by the end of the film, she has actually turned this racist cop who has his own metamorphosis, Sam Rockwell, into an ally. And they're in a station wagon heading out to kill this rapist that Rockwell heard about. But we get the impression that that's probably not going to happen. But hopefully they may actually have a relationship together. So this is a film about metamorphosis. It's about grieving. Yes, Sam Rockwell, who won Best Supporting Actor I didn't know much about him until he won the Oscar for Best Supporting Actor. It's how Francis's character and Sam's character undergo this healing, and they do it together, and it's just extraordinary. So just to recap, my 3 actresses are Frances McDormand, Hilary Swank, and Sissy Spacek. And I told you about the films and the reason I chose those. Okay, Jonathan, now what? We selected our actresses. We know what films led us to select our actresses. Now what are we going to do? Now you're going to write a story. Your own story. And you don't have to write it right now. You're going to think about it over the days, weeks, months, maybe even years. And I encourage you to do that. Are you going to cast all 3 of your actresses, or your first choice or your second choice? Remember, not all of them may agree to do the film. Well, what are you going to do, Jonathan? I'm going to attempt to cast all 3. I'm going to go to all 3. And I'm going to say, no, you're not going to Europe. You're not going to bask in the sun and drink wine and meet the love of your life. No, you're not. I have in mind for you ladies, something along the lines of a financial, economic, psychological thriller. Think David Mamet meets Alfred Hitchcock. And I'm not joking. I'm not being facetious. And there's a line in there, I can see one of the ladies saying something like this to an ex-husband who's very powerful. Quote, "It wasn't enough that you were a lousy lay, a horrible husband, a feckless father. But now I discover you're a businessman without any balls." And you know what I would do? I'd go knock on Daniel Day-Lewis's door. Yes, I would. I know he's retired. And I'd say, hey, listen, I've got these 3 wonderful actresses that are interested in this story. Why don't I write you a cameo? If you're really interested, I'll write you a full part. But come on, Booby, you're too good to be retired. And you know something? If he says no, it's okay, because my story's going to stand alone with these 3 great actresses. But you know something? If he said no, I'd then go knock on Richard Gere's door. To sum it up, ageism is a real thing in Hollywood, just like it is everywhere else. But it's particularly harder on actresses than it is on actors. Let's face it, a little gray hair and an actor never hurt him. But ultimately, actors will age out. And ultimately, what happens, I believe, with actresses, the number of roles just decrease and decrease and decrease, probably also decrease in quality. So my point to you is, when you selected your actresses, pretending you were in decades past, or me in a contemporary sense, I sincerely believe if I approached my 3 actresses with the right script, they would consider it. Oh, Jonathan, come on, that can't be. Frances McDormand. Are you kidding me? She won the Best Actress Oscar. Yeah, she's going to play in her husband's films, Joel Coen's films, absolutely. And, she'll probably go on to win more Oscars. But she liked that script for Nomadland. And she won a Best Actress Oscar and the director. I believe it was a debut film for the Asian female director. Won Best Director. So my point is, never be afraid to ask. All they can say is no. And never, never stop dreaming. Until I see you next time, leave behind a soft footprint, and class is dismissed.
So who were your 3 actresses? Which movies did you select? For more than one screenwriter or director, a good, healthy dose of audacity, the audacity to ask, was the key to their success. You've been listening to the Razors Inc. podcast with Jonathan Farini. Be sure to check out Jonathan's collection of fiction at the Jonathan B. Farini Story Collection at jonathanfarini.com. There you'll find everything from drama to romance, something for every reader, as well as the full archive of past editions of the Razors Inc. podcast. That's jonathanfarini.com, Farini with 2 R's, 1 N. Or drop an email to razorsincpodcast@gmail.com.